The president of the United States lives a cloistered life. He is in a bubble. The people around him are randomly and regularly tested for COVID. He flew overseas to Saudi Arabia. He was protected there. He had very limited public interactions. He did the one fist bump with MBS, Mohammed bin Saud. Bin Salman. He comes home. A few days later, he tests positive for COVID. He's had the vaccine. He's had the boost twice, and he gets it. If the president of the United States can get it, the rest of us are going to get it. There's no reason for the dramatic play up in the media again of COVID. If anything, the playing up COVID again to some degree hurts the Democrats, and yet the media can't help themselves at this point. There is, to be sure, another COVID wave spreading across the nation. I know more and more people who have gotten it in the last month. My kid is actually going to a week-long summer camp program at Georgia Tech and has to have a test 48 hours before going and then must be tested every day that she is there. And masks are required. I have avoided my office. They brought back the mask mandate. Now, I don't even get corporate emails anymore, so I didn't know, except Jim told me that there's the mask mandate. I would have showed up without a mask. But now I know I got to be up there next week. I will take my mask with me. I'll be a good corporate employee. I don't make my employees wear masks. I'm ready for my own office. But all that being said, the reality is there's another wave of COVID. What you're not hearing about, and this is important, you are not hearing about a massive wave of deaths. You are more likely right now to hear hype about monkeypox than you are COVID. I have to tell you, one of the most fantastic typos of all time occurred just a little while ago on social media. Benjamin Ryan is a writer for the New York Times. This is just too good to not to share with you guys. I got to read for you this guy's tweet, and I'm trying to pull up in actual context. He's the science reporter on monkeypox, HIV, COVID, and climate. He contributes to the New York Times, NBC News, The Guardian, the Washington Post, The Nation, The Atlantic, clearly of the left. We should know he is of the left. And this was his tweet. He was referring to something from Jerome Adams. Jerome Adams was the Surgeon General under Trump, and he's got to tell you, Jerome Adams, who's gone into full panic mode now that he's out of the Trump White House, says, I hate to tell you all this, but COVID-19 is still a pandemic, and now monkeypox is too. And both are going to get a lot worse before they get better. Just wait till schools, including colleges, reopen in a few weeks. And then someone else says, kids going back to school is going to make monkeypox everybody's problem. And this doctor, James Lim, says, what on earth is going here? So Benjamin Ryan, the New York Times writer who covers public health issues, writes this with an epic typo. This is misinformation about monkeypox. The outbreak is occurring almost entirely among men who have sex with me. Public health experts agree that sexual contact is the principal driver of transmission and have asserted that risk to kids remains very low. What he meant to say is the outbreak is occurring almost entirely among men who have sex with men, not men who have sex with me. But, oh, the poor guy. But, you know, I mean, being a good sport, he said, my typo is teaching people about global public health. He didn't delete it. He laughed it off and he kept it. And people are circulating it. I gotta say, it is very funny, but it is a point. When you've got Jerome Adams, who was the Surgeon General of the United States under Donald Trump, out there saying, oh my gosh, we got two pandemics now, COVID and monkeypox. No, there is no monkeypox pandemic outside of a very small subset of people. And we know who those people are. And they are not you, nor me, nor Joe Biden being manhandled by the Saudis. They are a particular group of people in which monkeypox is a problem. Nobody else. The president has COVID. The president is the general demographic of Americans, all of whom can be impacted by COVID. And despite all of the vaccines and all of the boosts, people are getting it. Now, What has changed? This is the important conversation. What has changed? What has changed is you're far less likely to have a severe case of COVID now. We're not talking about hospitals being overwhelmed. We got a rise in COVID, and we're not talking about it. Now, the conspiracy theorists of the right, frankly, I'm so disappointed in so many people on the right are saying, but did you know you're far more likely to die if you get the COVID vaccine than you are if you don't? Well, there's a reason for that. It's not the COVID vaccine killing people when they get COVID. And I know I can't disabuse conspiracy theorists of this. The reason that people who get the COVID vaccine are more likely to die than people who don't is that the people who get the COVID vaccine tend to be in much poorer health to begin with. So when you're an 80-year-old with emphysema already and prone to blood clots, yeah, you get COVID, it can still kill you. And in fact, those people have resumed their lives as they had them before COVID, and so they're much more susceptible to COVID, even with the vaccine, and yes, they can die. That's the reason. It's not like, oh my gosh, I got the COVID vaccine. And, you know, I remember at the time people were telling me, oh my gosh, if you get the mRNA vaccine, that means the next time you get COVID, you will die. The level of certainty from the people was amazing. Or, you know, encountered a guy who happened to truly believe that, did you know the mRNA vaccine creates new DNA in your liver? It mutates you. The amount of crap people believe because they read it off the internet from someone behind a green screen or in front of a green screen that looks credible is absolutely staggering to me. Lots of smart people have lost their minds, and they are absolutely convinced. I guarantee you by 30 minutes after from me saying this, I'm going to be flooded with emails, direct messages on Instagram and Twitter and the like from people saying, no, it's true. Look at the research from this one scientist that I believe because he tells me exactly what I already believe. I don't care whether you'd get the shot or not. I'm not putting on a mask. Again, I'm not. I don't care whether you get the shot or not. The fact that some of you are engaged in fear and conspiracy theories is insane to me because you're smart people. But I also think that the level of hysteria from the left now on you must absolutely get these shots and vaccines. And by the way, you're still going to get COVID, so you must all still stay home in lockdown is absurd. Los Angeles County Public Schools are making kids come back to school with masks on again. We have copious research that masking hurt the communication skills of children. I know people with small children, and their children regressed in their ability to communicate orally because of the mask issue. I know people who have this problem. There's an entire body of academic research out there showing kids have this problem. And in Los Angeles, they're going to force kids back into masks when kids who get COVID are the least likely to have symptoms, but they could spread it to their grandparents. And again, this comes back to the point I made yesterday. You got this entire body of academic research out there. You've got all these public health officials saying, please stay away from your grandparents and wear your mask. But they absolutely refuse to tell gay men to stop having random anonymous group sex to avoid spreading monkeypox. They want you to stay away from your grandmother, but they can't say anything in that regard. This is a double standard from the left, pervasive within academia now and within public health, which is why it's so discredited. This entire group of people have discredited themselves because they refuse to be plain and show some humility. And when the data changes, admit the data has changed. And when they're wrong, admit they were wrong. They cannot do it. So nobody believes them even when they're right. The biggest headline that you should take away from everything about the President of the United States having COVID is that it is spreading again around the country at a rapid rate. And when college kids go back to college, it's probably going to pick up even more. And hospitals will not be overwhelmed. There will not be this massive wave of deaths because the situation has vastly improved. As COVID has become far more contagious, it's become far less likely to kill us through drugs, through vaccines, through COVID itself. We should stop living in fear. We should resume our lives as normal. My fear, however, is that the president is going to come out and say, oh, it happened to me. It can happen to anybody. Look at the bubble I'm in. Everybody go back in your house. Stay there. Don't die. He's not going to die. You're not going to die. We're all going to be fine. And then, of course, in about 2 months, there will be the midterm variant. Oh, we got to have drop boxes again. Everybody's going to do absentee ballots again. You know that's going to happen. You absolutely know that's going to happen. They're going to play it up again. Republican states will be better prepared to fight it this time. It's just absurd. The level of fear. The level of fear over monkeypox in the press is absurd. The level of fear over COVID is absurd. These people want us all to stay in a state of hysteria where they can not just control us, but have neighbor pitted against neighbor, everybody hating everybody. The fact of the matter is, unless you're a gay man engaged in anonymous group sex, you're probably not going to get monkeypox. And if you're an American citizen out and about on a daily basis, not in good health, you probably are going to get COVID. And you're probably going to survive COVID. Probably everything's going to be okay. Do not live by fear. The science says you shouldn't. And all these people who say you should follow the science are the ones most prone to live in fear and get the science wrong. Overwhelmingly, again, this is the biggest takeaway. You've got to pay attention to this one. Share it with your family and friends. Yes, there is a big wave of COVID coming. It's true. All of the data shows it. In fact, it's probably underreported because fewer people are getting tested, and yet there's still this massive wave of COVID coming. But you're not seeing a corresponding massive wave of death. Why? Because after 2 years of this, we got drugs, we got vaccines, we got people who know what they're doing, and we have a lot of people who have built up immunity to it, and so they're not getting it bad. So don't freak out. Even if the media and the Democrats and everybody else wants you to, don't freak out. And by the way, 2 weeks to stop the spread of monkeypox would involve curbing a behavior no one in the media wants anybody to curb. So don't freak out about that one either. Just don't do that one thing and you'll be there fine there too.